Hello and welcome to Cupertino Insight. I'm Dorothy Cornelius, the City Clerk of Cupertino, and your host for this program. Tonight we're going to see some residents having a good time dancing. We're going to talk to some members of the Chamber about the Chamber's annual Citizen of the Year Awards. We'll get to meet Cupertino's newest employee, our Community Affairs Officer, Kathy Blackburn. We'll find out what goes on at the Cupertino Senior Daycare Center. And first of all, we're going to start with a look at a new program in this area called 911. This is an emergency number for health problems. If you have a public safety problem and need immediate attention, just call 911. Let's see how it works.
Well, Emergency Services. Where did the shooting occur, sir? Which city hall? Okay, what is the address at Cupertino? What happened, sir? Okay, two women shot at City Hall. Okay, can you tell me, well, is the guy with the gun still there? Hostages in the... Okay, sir, we'll get somebody right out there. What's your name, sir? Okay, Mr. Mann, thank you for calling. We'll get somebody right there. Upon receiving a call from a citizen, we ascertain first, is it an emergency or a prior burglary or whichever, so we know who to handle it. If it's a paramedic call, they transfer it directly over to them. If it's a fire, it's sent directly to them. It's just a one-button transfer. It's a very quick transfer. When a call is routed from the complaint desk to the sheriff, it comes to the printer here. It is torn off. He would then peruse it to find out what kind of the detail it is. Is it code 2, code 3? He would then dispatch it to the appropriate unit. Normally, we consider that if a call takes 10 seconds to answer, that it is too long.
Emergency 911 is now online to every city in Santa Clara County, serving 1.5 million people. The new system is enhanced with special features that provide for automatic location and phone number identification.
If they've dialed 911, once we pick up the phone, we get the address on our screens.
It is, in my opinion, and I've been in this business 23 years, probably one of the most significant achievements we could implement from a public safety standpoint. We had about a month after we put the system online a call from, just so happens, a citizen in Cupertino. A lady out there had been severely beaten, and her last conscious act was to dial 911 before she passed out. We have standing operational procedures that we implemented along with the program, and one of them is which, if we cannot speak to the person, if we cannot establish verbal communication, we will immediately send a police unit code 2. There is no question in our minds that because of that system, we were able to invoke an immediate response and provide life-saving services for her.
People answering calls are key to the success of 911.
I think the major contributing factor is the individual's ability to just apply a lot of common sense, to prioritize and see through to a problem and not allow themselves to get rattled or caught up in the emotions of what they're dealing with.
911 experienced some problems in the first few months of operation, but Chief Dispatcher Joel Healy assures us that the problems have been corrected.
There have been several changes which have been made to upgrade and enhance the reliability of the equipment. We have 2 types of tapes in the system. One tape is if all of our operators are busy, the citizens will automatically get a tape after 10 seconds telling them that all the operators are busy and to stay on the line. And we will answer the calls in the order received. If they hang up, that automatically puts them to the back again, so they might as well just stay on the line. Later on, we installed a second tape, This tape is used for major incidents which will generate a large volume of calls. An example would be a gasoline tanker on fire at 280 and Wolf. Now obviously that's going to bring in a lot of calls. The watch commander can go in and I activate the equipment and put a recording on there, which in essence would say, if you're reporting the tanker on fire at 280 and Wolf, we have equipment on the way, please clear our lines. And then just go ahead and hang up. If you're not reporting that, stay on the line. We're going to answer you as soon as we can get to you.
When asked if 911 was effective,
Yes, absolutely. No question about that.
It is planned that by the end of 1985, the 911 emergency service will be available throughout the state of California, which will make it the only state that has that service, no matter where you are. Here in the studio with me now is Kathy Blackburn, the city's new Community Affairs Officer. Kathy, what exactly is a Community Affairs Officer?
Well, that's a good question, Dorothy. It's sort of an unusual position for a city to have. Essentially, the Community Affairs Officer is involved in some way in most or possibly all of the ways that a city communicates with its citizens. What makes that a little bit nebulous is that, as you know, just about every city employee in local government is involved in some way with communicating with citizens. The Community Affairs Officer position often is something that you might think you'd find in private industry more often than government. But if you think about it, a local government organization has stockholders and customers, the community, just like
the taxpayers.
The taxpayers, and they pay for a product, which is services, and we make a profit when we do those services in both a quality way and a productive way. And given the fact that government is so much more, even required to be so much more open in its process and involve citizens so much more than a typical private company, it makes sense that government would put some energy and time into how it communicates with citizens. So essentially, the job of the Community Affairs Officer is to help plan and implement a communication program around the kinds of issues that government deals with to help citizens understand those issues better and be more effectively involved.
Well, what are some of the things that you're doing now, Kathy?
Well, the major areas of responsibility revolve around communication out to citizens, such as publications, and I publish the Cupertino Scene with the help of the council members who have been involved in that. Cable television is one of the city's primary mediums for communicating with citizens, and have some involvement in that. Special events such as the Civic Service Awards and other kinds of things that the city does with the community would fall to me to work with. And even things that relate to issues, human services funding, perhaps what we're doing in street improvements and street construction might involve a communication program. So it's full of variety, and those are some of the things that I'm working on right now, and of course dealing with the media that covers city issues.
What are the kinds of things you've done in the past that led you into this kind of a job?
Well, I've done a lot of things. Sometimes I say I've had sort of a checkered career in that I haven't always done this kind of work, although I've worked for 4 cities in the area, San Jose, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and Cupertino. So I've worked with cities. Most recently, before I came to Cupertino, I worked in the city of Sunnyvale's Community Relations Department, community relations being another synonym for community affairs.
Exactly.
There are lots of ways to say that. And so I've had a chance to do a little bit of all of the things that I'm working on with Cupertino in different settings. And the challenge, I think, is to bring that experience to Cupertino, a unique community, and work with the needs and the environment here.
I know you mentioned that Civic Service Award. The city, I believe this is going to be their 3rd program. What exactly is that?
The Civic Service Award program is really designed to be a way of allowing and helping the community recognize those people who have done something that has contributed to the quality of life in Cupertino. It's an interesting program when you compare it to other awards programs of its type, because it isn't geared around one winner. And there aren't a lot of specific criteria, although there certainly are criteria for the people that that are recognized, it's designed to set aside categories of involvement and contribution to allow citizens to nominate other citizens for recognition for their special projects. Any citizen can nominate a group or an individual for a civic service award, and provided that person meets the minimum criteria for that particular award, they will receive recognition from the city, primarily the council, for contributing to the quality of life in Cupertino. So that's the idea behind it.
When is the nomination period?
The nomination period, as a matter of fact, will open next week, and the deadline will be April 8th, so there'll be about a month where people can submit nominations of individuals or groups. And then the actual Civic Service Awards recognition program will be May 3rd at 7:30 at Monte Vista High School in the theater.
Now, should someone interested in nominating someone or a group for that award contact you?
Yes, that would be the best. I would be the best person to talk to at this point.
That's City Hall, 252-4505.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you see in the future for you as Community Affairs Officer?
Well, that's an interesting question. This is my, I guess I'm going to my 4th week on the job now, so I still sort of feel like the new kid on the block. Many of the things that I will do will be to assume responsibility for community affairs activities that the city is already doing, with the idea of creating an integrated and coordinated program around that. The goal of the community affairs program is to create a more informed and effectively involved citizenry. And so there may be, as new issues come up, new ways of communicating with citizens around those issues. I don't know exactly what the overall goals are other than that at this point, and that's something that is a high priority on my list to develop in the next couple of weeks. So I think the goal of the Community Affairs program is inform,
communication,
and communicate. That's exactly right.
I think it's rather exciting. It must be exciting for you to be in a brand new position that no one in the city has had before.
It really is. It's a little bit like charting new territory, but Cupertino is in many ways home to me. I've been a resident for 5 years, and I worked for the city of Cupertino before I worked for my previous employer. So I really do feel an attachment to the community, and it's going to be fun working here.
Well, I hope that it turns out to be just terrific for you. Okay. I know that so far you've been doing a great job.
Well,
Kathy.
I've been enjoying it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. It's really nice that everybody had the opportunity to meet you.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
And I know Kathy did bring up something about human services funding. If you recall last time, we said that the council had set aside $22,000 of community development block grant funding for human service programs. One of the programs that has applied for funding is the Cupertino Senior Day Center. Let's learn how that center operates.
Cupertino Senior Day Services opened its doors in 1982 with little money and lots of guts. It sprang from a group of concerned citizens who felt that more needed to be done for the elderly, who weren't independent yet still very much alive.
Our population is growing. Older, whether we want to believe that or not, that's happening. And this is an alternative to the family as institutional kind of care. We try to, and I'm not saying that we do not need nursing homes or other kind of institutional care. We do. Many of people who've been in the program need to, that's the next step they need to go into. But we would like to prolong that as much as possible. Possibly keep it from happening altogether. The staff and volunteers bring a lot of activities and care to the program. We do also have the benefit of De Anza College right across the street. Through the older adults program, we have instructors who come for an hour or 2 hours into the program and provide classes and activities in music, ceramics, exercise time each day, as well as arts and crafts. And at the moment we also have a cooking class or a cooking instructor. Not everyone participates in all those activities at all the time. We do sometimes split the group up and have a small discussion group going on at the same time, or we may take people, out of the program for a little bit and take them for a walk, or they may wish to go in and not participate, and we try to go and find some other activity. Our program is relatively structured, yet very flexible to try to deal with the individual need of a particular person. Yeah.
CSDS is currently seeking revenue sharing and human service funds from the City of Cupertino to develop an outreach program.
Cupertino in many ways is underutilized in the program. It is the percentage of people who are in the program from Cupertino could be higher. And we would like to go and put staff towards that to look for ways to educate the community so that everyone will have knowledge of our program. There are many people, out there who would enjoy a program like ours because of the socialization, because of the social interaction, because they are still very much alive and they're an important person. And I think we offer that here. It's really something to go and watch friendships develop, to watch people who were introverted, who maybe were very concerned about their own physical well-being, or whose social world became very small, to see them reach out to other people.
Persons interested in the Cupertino Senior Day Services may call Petey at 257-9414. Here with me now are two special citizens of Cupertino, Nancy Binneweg and Jim Walker. Welcome to Cupertino Insight. Now, I know you're here today to talk about the Chamber of Commerce's special program for their Citizen of the Year. Perhaps, Nancy, you could tell me a little bit about the history of these awards and why the Chamber got involved in giving citizens awards.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce was started initially by the founding fathers of the city, and they wanted an opportunity to acknowledge people who contributed to the community. And so over the years, they've had just a great variety of people who've contributed in a lot of different ways. And it's a good way to recognize the past as well as the current achievements that people, contributions that people give to the city of Cupertino.
Well, I think it's a great idea because I know that a lot of people work consistently to better the community, but sometimes there are just special ones who maybe do a little more or just stand out a little more than some of the others. It must be very hard to choose, though, because we do have so many active people in Cupertino. Of whom is the selection committee comprised, the kinds of people who serve on that committee, and what are the qualities they look for in nominees?
The people that are chosen for the nominating committee are people currently active in different facets of the city life. Women's organizations, religious leaders, political leaders, just civic people who are civically involved now. They try to get a good selection of people who are familiar with the past history and the past events that have taken place in the city, as well as newcomers who aren't biased by people who have been contributing over the years. They're more objective in looking at qualifications written on information sheets.
What you just said, though, brought a question to my mind. When the selection is made, does the committee look for someone who has just done something for that 1 year, say from last year's awards to this year, or do they look at something that's ongoing? Do they consider all previous years?
Oh, they consider all previous years. They consider, it's very interesting to remember people who contributed to the incorporation of the city, the founding of the sewer lines in the city. That took a lot of work on some people's part. All of us take that for granted, but there are some people who dedicated years raising bonds, doing things because the city wasn't incorporated. But we also look at people who have been active in the last, maybe 20 years, 15, 20 years, active in children's events, sports, schools. This chamber tries to recognize the more recent contributions too, but it's not someone who's a flash in the pan, who one year is just out there and everything, but then the next year you don't see them. These people have been around for quite a while.
Jim, I'm very honored to have you here tonight because I know you were last year's a Citizen of the Year. You won an award, one of them. What exactly were the kinds of things that you did that led to this award?
Well, I think it probably isn't an award that anybody would go out and attempt to win, because I think that's one of the things that the committee looks for. They look for people who are doing things on behalf of their families or their neighborhoods or the community itself, the city of Cupertino. I know I felt last year when I was honored, along with Sharon Rohde, to be named Citizen of the Year, I felt that perhaps I was just a representative of all the other people that do so much in the city, and I think a city has to have a self-image, and hopefully it's a good self-image, and by showing some people that do some good things, good works, hopefully in the city, it contributes to all of us, and I think makes a better place to live.
What are some of the things you're involved doing?
That I am involved in?
That you are involved doing, yes.
He never stays home, that's for sure.
Actually, right now I should be at work, but frankly, I think in my case, and I could speak for I think a good number of people, whether it be someone involved in the library, which I wasn't, or some other civic area, I think it was things that we got involved in for our own children, for our own families, in our neighborhoods, that we saw something that ought to be done, and said, why not me, or can I help out? And usually that's where it starts, and it goes on from there. I personally was involved in some things in the community in the way of youth sports and activities, school affairs, and some civic groups, and I think that's why I was recognized.
So it's really not just one area, but sort of a well-rounded type of thing.
Certainly, although it's a Chamber of Commerce award, and it has been for many, many years, it is not limited to chamber members or people involved in the business community. Matter of fact, I think that if we look back, the majority of the recipients probably were not chamber members and probably were not actively involved in business in the community. We're trying to look for people who are outstanding citizens, not necessarily outstanding business people.
When is the award going to be presented, and where will it be presented this year?
Well, the event is being held at the Palo Alto Country Club on March 9th, and they've already announced the winners, which is different from past
Usually
history.
it's a big secret until
Usually it's
their
a big
event
secret.
occurs.
Yeah, yeah. But on the board, we went around and around about that information. I mean, some chambers have had people who've had almost heart attacks when they were announced as winners in the audience. And other times, if you're a winner, then you don't have all the people there that you wish could share the moment. So we thought it would generate a lot of different interest by knowing the winners in advance.
I'm not going to ask you to announce who they are, though. If people are really interested, they should attend the function, call the Chamber of Commerce, and get their tickets.
Yes,
and then they can find out.
Right,
Okay.
Dorothy, the event is Saturday night, March 9th, at Palo Alto Hills Golf and Country Club. There is dinner and dancing, and it's a fine event and a social event. I think one of this year's co-chairmen calls it a black and white ball because it is a nice social event.
Oh, it sounds like fun. I want to thank both of you very much for being here, and I wish you lots of success with the Citizen of the Year Awards.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Okay. Beginning this week, we're going to feature a Parks and Recreation tape every program. Now I'd like you to take a look at some people having a good time dancing.
We've been offering dance classes for years and years and years. Right now, this fall, we're offering a ballroom dance class, a social dance class, and a tap dance class for adults. The ballroom dance class is for couples. We really encourage you to come with a couple because all the dances that are taught are based around a couple, a partner type dance. So they will be learning a lot of things like the rumba, the cha-cha, some of the more traditional dances, but many of those traditional dances can work their way into more of the modern dances as well, because many of the modern dances are based on the old, steps. One thing I think it's a little bit unique is that we have a couple that teaches, Marilyn Priel and Lee Pollock. They teach together, and I think that it's very nice because they dance together as partners. Of course, they also dance with other people in helping the different couples, but they can dance together as partners and really show people exactly what it should look like as a whole. And the tap class, real fun class, a traditional tap steps, but lots of modern music and lots of fun. Our instructor, Karen Stone, is finishing up her degree at San Jose State in dance, and I think her enthusiasm, her excitement is what really makes her class very unique and fun because she really enjoys tap. She just loves it. And most of the people that take the tap classes feel the same way. It's something that they've maybe wanted to do all their lives if they're in the beginning class and never have had the opportunity. We learn a wide variety of things in the social dance class, in that what we kind of say in our explanation is to fortify you for a variety of places to go out dancing here in Silicon Valley, as far as going to a Greek restaurant or going to a disco place, a variety of things that you can just kind of come in and work into. The thing that's neat about it, I think, is that it's not limited to just one type of person or one age of person. A wide variety of people and ages can come together and have a fun time and learn something. If you enjoy music and you feel like getting into moving to that music, dance is a very, a real neat way of expressing yourself and having fun.
That's a great way to have a really good time. Thanks for watching Cupertino Insight. See you in 2 weeks. Good night.